All right, so let's review the steps to solving a word problem. So if you look at this chart, the first box tells us that we need to understand. In order to understand the word problem, you need to read the word problem and then ask yourself, what am I looking for? What is the question that it needs me to answer? And then ask yourself, what do I know? So when you have the word problem in front of you on paper, you can highlight, underline, and circle and use those annotations we've been practicing to figure out what this problem is asking you. When you know what the problem is asking you, that means you understand it. If for some reason you don't understand the problem the first time, read it again a couple of times and highlight, underline, circle, all of those important details. And remember those terms that signal what operation we're going to use. That leads us into our next box, the planning box. So to plan out how you're going to solve a word problem, you need to choose a strategy. You can use pictures or tables to help you use make these strategies. But the big thing that we've used in class is using those annotations to find the signal words that tell us what we need to do. If it says sum, we're going to be adding. If it gives us the total and we need to find a missing part, we're going to either be subtracting or dividing. If we need to find the product, we're going to be multiplying. So again, using those signal words that we picked up in the understand portion when we annotated to use in the planning portion and making that strategy. Then we're going to work through and solve that problem. So just like we did in our examples, we annotated, we looked at what we needed to know. Then we solved it. We made a number equation, number sentence. One was addition, one was subtraction. It could be multiplication or division. We're going to hold off on looking at those in depth until we have a little bit more background knowledge with multi-stepped problems. But we're going to solve for the word problem answer. And again, you're going to show your work. You're going to make a model, draw a picture, whatever helps you solve that problem. When we get to the answer portion, you need to label that answer. We've talked about this in class. That's telling us what were we looking for. If it asks for crayons, we need to list that it is 8 crayons. If it asks for how many inches something is, we need to label that it is 4 inches or 3 inches. Make sure we're labeling it because that label again goes back to our understanding of our problem and that we know what they're asking for. Our last step is to check. To check it, you're going to explain it and justify it. Is your answer reasonable? Does your answer make sense? If it asks you to find the number of crayons, make sure that in that problem you found the number of crayons. So you're going to double check that you found that. If for some reason you looked at markers in the word problem instead of crayons, checking and going back over that answer is where you're going to find that simple mistake that you may have made. To double check your word problem answers, I would start the process over. I would read my question again. I would look at what strategy I used. I would double check if I solved for the correct problem. If it asked me for crayons, but the word problem also said markers, this is where I would double check to make sure that both of the things I was adding were crayons and not crayons and markers. That's all a part of double checking and making sure. The explain portion of double checking is where you explain how you got that answer. Being able to tell someone, these are the steps that I used. This is what I found in the problem that justified or was the text evidence for that problem. So again, just to quickly highlight these steps. First, you're going to understand your problem by reading it and annotating it. Second, you're going to make your strategy and plan out what you're going to do to answer this question. And then third, you're going to solve it, showing all of your work and labeling your answer. And then the last step is to go back and double check your work, making sure that you answered exactly what the question asked and that you fully understood what you were looking for. That is the steps to working a word problem. I hope that this helped clarify some of those and walked you through this chart a little bit better. Thank you.